All right, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another edition of You Asked, and I am going to answer, and this time it comes from a producer. Producer questions. Ooh, anytime in pre-production you should be nervous, right? If you've never been on the job and you get an email from a producer, good things. If you are on the job and you get an email from a producer, possible danger. Before we get into the question though, let me say that Patreon for the Wandering DP group is the only reason that these videos are possible. If you actually want information and videos that are updated each and every week, plus getting access to the entire back catalog of hundreds, if not thousands of videos, breaking down my own work, other people's work, the actual things that move the needle when it comes to technical cinematography, that is the best spot to do it. Plus you support the channel and make this all possible. Many thanks to all of the Patreon supporters who allow me to do this kind of stuff. Okay, let's get into today's question or comment. It comes from Pat Paulo Pioca. As a producer, this definitely doesn't add my trust to cinematographers. This was from a video where I talked about ND filters being the greatest return on investment that I have ever gotten from cinematography, which is absolutely true. There is no better return on investment than ND filters. Okay, and I was saying that I charge the same thing that a rental house charges. I did those calculations. I saw they were charging $100. I also will charge $100. So definitely doesn't add to my trust to cinematographers. I don't know why that would be. I encourage to own your own gear, but I do find it fresh to ask for the same price because producers are used to paying the same price. Why it would be different, I'm not sure. Here in Finland, I think it's standard that you get 60% of the price of the rental house alternative if you are using your own gear. Okay, let's get into it because this is fun. I like this kind of stuff. There is a time, well, first of all, let's go over the basics. What are you there doing? If you own your own gear and you're part of this commercial process there and you're a producer, imagine what you want when you have a job come through. What do you want? You want the job to turn out great and you want it to be as little work for you as possible. You don't want any headaches. You don't want any constraints, right? Because the image that I want you to have in your head at all times is a commercial production, being this process that has to go through the series of pipes, right? Like a big giant, I don't know, Mario style series of pipes. And all along those pipes, there's going to be areas where it's really wide and easy to get through, and then it's really constrained. And our job, if you're the producer, you want as few constraints as possible. You don't want any headaches. You want things nice and easy. You want the first cinematographer that you call to be available for your days. You want them to be available, and you want them to have all of the answers about any questions that come up in pre-production or in production. You want them to take care of everything. And you want the sound person to do the exact same. Makeup, costume, locations people. You don't want any complications. So how do you make yourself valuable as a cinematographer? You remove all the constraint that normally comes around when dealing with anything on the visual side of things. Any problems that can come up that you can solve before they get to the producer, they're going to value you. Now, who pays you? The producer. Whose good side do you want to be on? The producers. Is that always the case? No, sometimes it's not. Right? Sometimes it's a relationship with the director. It depends. How often are you going to be working with the producer? There's lots of factors to take into account. But if you keep that visualization of all of these little pipes that this project has to pass through, if there is any constraint that you can eliminate, do that. Because you are more valuable to the producer. They just want to get the job done. It's like you, when you hire a gaffer or when you hire a grip or a first AC for a job, you don't want every time you call them to have problems or to not pick up or to say, you know, I was thinking about that idea that you had. I'd rather do something like this. It's like, okay, there's a time and a place for your creative feedback. Sometimes I just need you to do what I say. Sometimes I say we don't have money on this job to get whatever, another person or some wild piece of gear. Like, yes, the job might look better if we used X lenses, but we don't have the money for that. So just sometimes you have to catch my drift and you have to pick up on things. And the less that I have to explain to you the constraints that I'm under, the easier it is for me, right? So anything that would make communication difficult with you, interaction difficult with you, anything that would make anything involving me and you more difficult, don't do that. Okay, but now let's talk about pricing. Should you charge less if it's your own gear? Maybe, or maybe not. It depends on the relationship with the producer. Are you making it easier for the producers to get gear, to not have any gear conversation, to not have any negotiation problems? Number one, I would say you probably wouldn't want to be more expensive than any rental houses. Why? You have less, you should have depending on how you've structured the business, you should have less constraints yourself. You should have less overhead. You don't have some minion minding the gear all of the time. You're not renting it out to 1,000 different productions all at once where you have to keep track of that stuff. My gear comes on my jobs. That's it. And then it goes back in the storage facility. It doesn't come out any other time than that. When the producer calls me, they say, are you available these days? Yes. Any other information I need you to know? I say, yes, I have all of the gear. You don't have to shop around. You don't have to get quotes. You don't have to do anything like that. If you already have gear in place, I will match it. So I'm matching the exact same deal. I'm making it easier for people. Okay, they're not going to nitpick. Imagine you're a producer. You're not going to nitpick over every single item going like, oh, well, I got you on the job and I'm paying your day rate. And I know that I could get the ND filters $25 cheaper over here. What are we doing? That's what I would say. If someone told me that on the phone, I'd be like, excuse me? What are we doing? Like, I'm making this job easier for you. I'm telling you the exact equipment that I need to make your job easier. Your job is to say, yes, if you don't like it, go to another person. Like, I'm trying to help you all of the time. I'm trying to make your job easier. I'm not trying to screw you. Now, the flip side of that conversation is you shouldn't be trying to screw anyone. It's not like you're trying, it's not like I'm saying, unless you really don't like the person, which is another way to do it. Like if you don't want to do a job with somebody and you're available those days, depending on like the diary system that you use or the agents that you have, it's like, yeah, I'm happy to do the job, but yeah, you got to get the gear through. And some high-level cinematographers, this becomes an issue, is sometimes producers will know this. And if you're not familiar with them, you don't work with them very often, they will try and like strong arm you on the gear. And they'll be like, oh, I know that Bob owns his own gear. So what we're going to do is we're going to get him on the job. And then we're going to say, yeah, I've only got a budget for this amount of gear. And you're like, hold on. Now I'm negotiating like with the person that I'm working for the gear side of things. That's kind of gross. So what I will do instead is I'll start a separate company. And I'll pretend not to have any affiliation with that company. And then I'll just get my friend to answer the phone when the production company calls. And then so it's not me. So then they're negotiating that way. That's one way that you can do it. The other side is you can just make it easier for people by doing exactly what I just said. Yes, you can just be cheaper. Now, why you would be cheaper, I'm not sure. When I'm making it easier for you, I wouldn't immediately lean into cheaper, 60%. Why am I going to give you 60%? Why am I going to give you 40% off what you would have to pay if you use someone else? I don't know. That's strange to me. If there's a reason, oh, you're going to get me more jobs in the future. Okay, if you're going to get me more jobs in the future, well, maybe. If this is like, if this is the thing that is going to define the relationship of whether I get more jobs, that's weird. I don't know if I would want to be involved in those productions because you should be getting me because you like the work that I'm able to produce. You like, and I'm not just talking about the final image, right? This is where it comes down to the business side of things. I'm not just talking about the final image. Yes, you have to make good images. You have to be easy to work with. You have to be, you have to take all of the constraints out. You have to not be a pain in the ass. You have to understand when to push and when not to push. All of those things make you easier to work with. And one of them is billing or charging. Like I'm happy to match any price. If you get a quote from somebody else for that much cheaper, okay. Do I have to, is it mandatory that I take things off? No. In fact, I know cinematographers, high-end commercial cinematographers who will charge much, much more than a rental house. Why? Because it's like a fee that you have to pay to deal with that person. It's like, if you want them, they're in demand. They set their own prices. It's like, oh yeah, if you want me, sure, this is my day rate. Also, you got to get the gear from the place that I like. Now, very often you will come across production companies, especially ones that pump out a lot of content at a very high level. There's lots of these places all around the world. You probably know the names of them. If you're in that area, you probably know the production companies. If they say, no, we get all of our jobs through Panavision. We do all of our jobs through Panavision. You can't use your own gear. How do you respond? You have two choices, okay? You can respond saying, I don't like that. I have all my own gear. You should use that because I say so. And then you'll be off the job. Or you can say, great, love Panavision stuff. Let's do it. I'm excited. Okay? You always have those options. You can leave the gear at home. You have to make the call on the relationship with the producer. If at any time, and this is a good like North Star that you should be checking your behavior and your interaction with producers, is at any time, if I'm making the job more difficult for the producer than any other cinematographer would, that's a red flag that you should stop doing that. Unless you don't like the producer, then go harder, okay? But you're probably not going to get jobs in the future with those people. But just randomly discounting gear because it's coming from the cinematographer, I think that makes no sense. Yeah, I would. Why would you do that? I'm struggling to think of an answer, except for like, hey, because you hired me, thanks. I'll give you such and such a discount. I would discount on volume anyway. It's like sometimes it is nice. First of all, if you ever get a quote from any rental house in the world, you know that there's usually like a 30% haircut on that right off the bat, just to make people feel nice. And how do they get around that? Well, they say, well, to get the price, the Alexa is $1,000 a day, but for you, we're going to give it to you for $700. And then the producer's like, oh, quite a deal. No, that's just the norm. But we say quite a deal, so you don't ask for a deal. Okay? And so you can say, well, usually it's $1,000, but I'm going to give you a deal because you hired me, $700. It's like, well, okay. Anyway, I don't know why you would be discounting gear. Maybe you do. I don't know. Tell me in the comments if you specifically do deals that are lower than the rental houses. Maybe if your gear is not as good, okay, yes, you have to. If you're using some off-market like Chinese brand wireless system or something, and it might fail. First of all, don't do that. I'd be worried if that were the case. But I'm trying to think of a situation. I can't think of one. If you're making it easier for them, you should be charging the same, right? Or am I crazy? I don't know. You tell me. Okay. Anyway, that is going to do it for this one. Many thanks. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.